Happy days, here's the motors, guys. Oh man, that stuff is as hard as a shit carter's shoulder, no lie. Happy days, here's the motors, guys. 257 Yanmars arrived. This is my mortgage now. Ah, they look nice. Oh, that's magic. Fantastic. That's it. That's it. Beautiful. Hopefully these guys are good at installing them, eh?
We can do anything.
You reckon you can do anything, Josh?
We can do anything.
Mate, we can do it. I reckon it's not that hard, to be honest, putting the motor in.
Two blokes will be able to lift that easy.
No problem.
Slap a piece, man, will do it for you.
Classic. Hey, mate. Cole. Cole's been watching Sailing Zatara. We'll just drop the guys. We'll drop them a little bit of a plug. Thank you for delivering my motors, mate. Very happy. Thank you very much. Righto, boys. Let's come here. Come here.
Introducing Jaden.
This is about.
Oh,
More stand back a bit, Josh, because the light's just going to shine out of this.
waiting for the explosion. Let's see what we got.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Holy dooly.
Oh yes.
Is shiny.
Wow.
Mate.
Turn the key.
Wow.
Oh, we could.
Wow. Yeah.
Look at all this.
Look at that.
Hoses. Look at these. Are these filters or something? Yeah, it looks like a primer there. So that's a filter of some sort, I suppose. Wiring loom. Look at that.
Man, that is very exciting. You better get back to work.
Are these service packs or something, are they, Ross? Suppose you're going to have big batteries in there too, aren't you?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Is that the gearbox down there, I suppose? Yeah.
Oh,
Well, there's the other. Oh no, they're there. The other one's bolted on.
it's already done.
Yeah. It's so shiny. Look at that.
That is so cool. Very cool.
Clean. Let's have a look in here, shall we?
What do you think, Josh? Do you like that?
Oh no, there's all white stuff in there, mate. Head gaskets.
Put that back on. Put it back on. I don't want any muck in there for the next year. I'll like sit here idle. Oh,
That's nice, mate. That's
I'm
nice.
pretty happy. God.
Look at that.
New Yanmar visual gauges.
Look at that.
Whoa. Very nice.
That's nice. Get a good look at those.
Yeah, as good as that.
Wow.
Pretty cool,
Slick,
eh?
mate. So we've got all your buttons there. And
There's
so
actually, I think there's a cover I can buy to go over this.
oh yeah. So starting. How good's that? And all the back there.
It's all loomed, and all the wiring looms are here.
Wiring looms are in there.
I might have to buy extensions depending on the length of it, but no, that's absolutely superb.
Let's
Look at that.
You got a while to go before that goes in.
Yeah. I could probably put them in hopefully towards the end of the year, but I had to order them 5-6 months out, so it takes that long for them to come. So happy with them. They're freaking gorgeous, aren't they?
And you've still got to reroute.
Yeah, well that's basically the heat exchanger, the water-cooled exhaust, and then the water comes down like an extra sleeve to the side and mixes with the exhaust gas, goes down into a little gurgle box and then up over a loop above waterline and then out to the exhaust, so you don't end up with any water coming.
What's he
Some
found?
bedtime reading.
What's he found?
Bedtime reading, I think. Oh, how do I get that?
Yeah, Ross, you found yourself something.
You don't miss it. Oh mate, this will be an easy one to work on.
Oh, that's right. You used to do boats, didn't ya?
No.
Yeah, you did.
Information must be read by installer.
So that's you, Jaden.
Oh, look at this, they've got floating keyring. Yeah, bloody nice.
Oh,
of them.
sweet. Show us the keyring back.
How nice of them.
Oh, cute. So now you don't lose your keys for your boat.
Yanmar Marine Diesels, there it is. This is the biggest expense. It's the first foreign body to go into my boat, except for my fuel tank.
Look at that.
Well, thank you, Josh, for being here at the unboxing.
Oh, my pleasure, mate.
Yeah.
I love me engines.
Very cool. All right,
All right.
get back to work, eh?
Oh, I will.
Put them away. Thank you, Josh. Okay, so while I store these guys away for the period between now and installation, it's quite a big outlay, and I actually probably ordered them around about 6 months too early. However, to get A, the price, and B, to make sure I had the stock, I had to go ahead and order them. And there's quite a bit coming up with regard to how I'm fitting these into the engine bay modules, and I'll try to explain as I go along. But for now, just let me enjoy the moment. It was a pretty exciting day, and I think you can tell that. So you'd think I would have got dressed up for the occasion of these two guys arriving, but I've just opened up the box. I started pulling everything out. I've got dual gauges, so I'll be able to have gauges at my helm station, as well as I'm potentially going to put a gauge system in my nav station so that I can monitor from the inside as well. And then I've just opened up the top here and check this out. Engine covers, our motor covers, and yeah, look at that, beautiful. So this setup is a 57 horsepower Yanmar with dual 125 amp alternators, dual gauge system. So I've got digital readout on the helm and inside my cockpit as well, inside the salon or saloon. Essentially, I've got another complete alternator kit to go, I imagine, on the other side there. Not really sure where she goes, but I've got 4 alternators all up. So if you need inspiration to build a boat, buy a couple of these, because now you got to put the bastards in. The original boat that was in production here, before they put these engine bay modules in, had a 300 horsepower motor, or then they went to a Steyr 140 horsepower motor. The issue is that these longitudinal mounts for the engine bay mount, for the engine mounts, are way too wide for my new Yanmar 57s. I only have 470 to deal with, whereas the original ones were around 550 wide. So I've got to basically put them directly on the edge of where that mount is. Now I have a second problem, is that I can't see what's underneath. And the problem with that is I need to then cut out a section and glass a bearer to the boat itself, and then physically glass that back to my engine bay. Now I knew this was coming. I didn't realise it was going to be as big an issue as it is, but it is an issue, and now I've got to start cutting up this module and starting all of that customisation. It will have a timber bearer within glass to the actual hull, but then the module itself will then be glass to the bearer. That, because ultimately this is only decorative, it's not a structural member, and the original boat would have had a bearer underneath and the bay sitting on top. I don't have that luxury because I don't have the width, and short of making up a stainless bracket or some sort of an alloy bracket that holds the engine in place sitting on the bearers, which I'm going to have to cut out anyway, I'm better off to cut out a section of this engine bay so I can see what I'm dealing with in behind, because I know the engine bay and the hull are very close, and I need to actually have come up square rather than come up to a flat, because I need to have the engine mount right on the edge of where that is. So I'm going to work on that now. Okay, so to get a good look at this, I've just marked it along the centre line of what were the original engine mounts, which is along here. Their original motor went from there to here on the other side. Mine is going to be from here to here, so this right on this very edge, which is a big problem for me. So what I've chosen to do, I'm going to just cut this section out very nice and neat and square. What ultimately has to be under here, right here, out to about here, is a solid timber engine bed that then has about 8 millimeters. I haven't checked the scantlings, but you know, everything, all the reading I'm doing and everything I've checked up on all the shipbuilding manuals that I've read basically indicate that this has to be at least 8 millimeters thick with a combination of unis and quads and biaxial. So that's what I'm working on, and I think if I just do a neat cut, make it nice and neat here, what I'm going to ultimately be able to do is put my timber beds in here, which will be glassed through the hull, sit the engine bay back over the top, then glass it back together so that it all appears as one. That's going to save me a hell of a lot of money in having an external frame built, but it also will solve my problem and give me a much more solid connection to the hull. In some respects, it's actually worse than I imagined. At least by cutting it out, I'm able to see exactly what I'm dealing with. I can pretty much fashion a piece of timber to go exactly where that needs to go. The issue I've got is that it has an incredible slope on it, right where I need it to be. So I'm going to have to think this through. It's going to be a little bit of a hard one to fashion, and that's not going to be great. But I can certainly fashion a foam or timber bed there, and then have a wooden timber bed on top of it, or one solid piece of timber all the way down there. Could be a bit of a challenge with the way that tapers back, but I'm going to have to work something out because it's the only way it's going to fit, and that's exactly how it's going to fit. So I'm going to cut the other side, do that right now, and then at least I'll have, you know, I've got things to go away and think about, I guess. So now I've butchered my engine bays. I've now got to lift them out. I've made a mark on each end on the wall of the hull. What I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to build up foam on each side on the hull itself, which is going to be around about probably 70 mils thick, and then sit an engine bed on top of it. But before I can do that, I need to build the foam up, then shape it, and then glass that before I can then put the timber engine bearers on top of that, and then work out how I'm going to mount the engine. So it's going to be a lot of work in here, probably a couple of weeks work just in both engine bays to get them ready to accept an engine. I'm a long way off that, but I need to do it now before I start putting anything else in. It's one of those things that has to be done. It's probably one of the more critical aspects of this boat build that's going to ensure that I have my engines mounted correctly. Now I've done some research with regard to the scantlings, or the layout required for that engine bearer, and it's substantial. It has around about 8 millimeters of glass on top of that engine bearer before I can even think about mounting an engine of this capacity on it, because they are quite large engines from a point of view of weight, not so much the bulk of them, it's actually the pressure that's going to be putting on the hull. Fortunately, I have you know, some pretty good ideas as to how I'm going to do that, but it has to then be laminated in place first before I then put the timber engine bearer on it. So lots to do, lots to think about. I've butchered these yesterday. I've had a good long think about it, a lot of reading last night, and now I'm going to remove this engine bay and start working down here. A lot of restorative work to be done here prior to me putting the engine mounts in. Alright, so I've got the engine bay out. Now I need to remove the foam on the top here. It can't stay. It's actually elevating my engine bay up about an inch at the end, and it needs to be level so that I can get it physically attached to the hull itself. So I've got about, I don't know, probably 1.5 foot of this foam core to remove. That's going to create other problems. Then I've got to lay it up again like I did where I removed the foam down on the side walls here. So down in here, this skeg here is a very important part. It's already been reinforced to a level to accept the fact that there's no foam in there, because I didn't want any foam in there, and in fact I didn't put foam in it because firstly it's difficult, and glad I didn't, because if I put the foam in it, it would have been a big issue from a point of view of mounting the engines. Now I've got to put some foam in here to accept the engine base. So yeah, it's a chop and change, but I sort of deliberately left it like that because I knew that was going to happen. Oh man, that stuff is as hard as a shit carter's shoulder. No lie, I've made such a mess here today. Look at that, that's about a foot deep in foam down in there, in the skeg there at the end there. That's basically where the prop shaft comes out of the back of the boat. But I've put this off for about a year. I knew I had to remove this last little legs of foam. This bit over here and this bit here had to be removed. It's taken a fair effort there. I'm here on a really blustery day. It's blowing about 40 knots out to sea at the moment, and I've just come up. I thought it's a good day to, and no one's around, so it's a good day to get some foam cut up. I've got to cut 4 pieces of this 30mm foam. It's the thickest H80 I have. I want to make a block 150 millimeters wide, 850 long, and 300 deep. And that solid block, imagine it, is going to form the basis of my structure for the engine bearers. Now, because the hull's shaped like that, I've got to make a block that fits like that, that mounts onto the chine of the engine mount, and then the wooden bearer is going to be glassed on top. So I've got 2 separate things needing to be done here. I've got to firstly make the block, laminate the 4 or 5 sheets together under pressure, and then secondly, it has to be then shaped to the contour of my hull, where they'll then sit in place, glassed in, and then the wooden bearers will be glassed in with the correct scantlings. Now the scantlings for that calls for an 8mm thick layup, given the weight and the structure of my boat. And there's a formula that I've used that I got out of a great book, and I'll quote it as I'm working away here where this information is. It's a book called Boat Strength. It's a sensational book. It goes into a lot of detail about the required laminates and the scantlings required for designing boats and building stuff to the correct structure. Ultimately, this is going to be a core. The glass is going to be the strength, but the core will stop any sort of obviously any sort of degradation over time, and then the wooden bearer will be on top of that where my engine mounts mount. So it's a lot of work, but the great thing is what I'm going to end up with here is an incredibly strong structure with no weight, and just that timber bearer on the top to bear the actual engine mounts themselves. So I've cut 5 pieces for each of the engine bearer mounts. Now, remembering that this is not the engine bearer. Please don't comment on this because I'm actually trying to get structure underneath it because I don't have anywhere for those bearers to sit within the skeg of my boat. But what I'm planning to do is I'm going to laminate these up like this, get them all laminated, and I'm going to use just straight epoxy resin. I don't really want a thickened paste in between these because what I'm aiming to do is get one solid block. And if I use epoxy, I'll get enough squeeze through these holes. I'm just going to weight it down. This is not the structure. The structure will physically be the glass laminate that I sheathed this with. It's similar to a plywood type arrangement, but this will give me a lot of bulk and a hell of a lot of strength on a vertical plane, which is what I need. I don't want layered flat, I want it vertical. So hence having the engine beds vertical like this, and then the physical timber or the wooden bearer will sit on top of this after this is glassed in place and filleted and all the works. But so this has got to be shaped to fit the skeg shape of the profile of the boat. Now they're going to be sitting on a vertical plane and lipping up over the top of that chine that's within the skeg. So very important that I get this first laminated up. I'm just going to mix up some epoxy and let it cure for a few days and then come back and then I'll start shaping. But going to be a lot of shaping, a lot of grinding and a lot of sanding, but I should be able to get a perfect fit that'll then allow for me to put my bearers on and take the weight of those really beautiful engines that I've got there. So just while I laminate these foam blocks up, I just want to thank everyone for subscribing. It's blown my mind that I've hit over 10,000 subscribers, and you know, thanks guys, it's so appreciated. I can't honestly believe that that many people would even consider watching me build a boat. But at the end of the day, I'm giving it a good stab, and I hope you're enjoying it. And don't forget to click like if you liked it. Please make a comment if you've got any ideas. And I'll talk to you next time on Life on the Hulls, and you can watch me laminate these foam blocks up, and you'll just have to wait and see until next episode as to what I do with these things, because it was a bit of a process, but yeah, at the end of the day, it's all worked out really well. Thanks guys, and I'll catch you next week. Bye.